sir. I would now like to welcome on stage our next speaker for the session, Dr. Debapriya Datta, Head Seeds, DST. Dr. Datta completed his PhD from the Indian Agricultural Research Institute, New Delhi, and joined the National Agricultural Research Service of the Indian Council of Agricultural Research. He has served as scientist in the Central Soil and Water Conservation Research and Training Institute, Dehradun. Sir, may I please invite you on stage?
Put it on. It's coming. Okay. Good afternoon, and thank you, Shakshi, for inviting me, and thank you, AGI, Megha, for inviting as a part of this, the discussions. And next to the Rajesh ji, so always it's a pleasure. So what I just want to share with you, you must have discussed over this almost 1.5 days, that this is the India's geospatial ecosystem, as you see here. Like over the I will say it is last 3.5 decades, all the the components are there. So I just want to see in that context how this geospatial skill development is important. And for that I would just like to share with you, as you can see, that the core of this geospatial knowledge and the skill, let us try to keep it in mind, is the spatial thinking and the spatial cognitions. And these are the three the brain the glands which help us in understanding the spatial cognitions. So how really we can nurture them is the spatial thinking, that's based on the the amalgamations of these three elements. We get the concept of space, the representations, and the process of the reasoning. So if you see here that the nature and functions of the spatial thinking, it is the collections of cognitive the skills. Also, spatial thinking is integrated to the everyday life, people, natural objects, human-made objects, human-made structures. And actually, if you see in the first point, the skill, it consists of a declarative and the perceptual forms of knowledge. So there is the link between the knowledge and the skill. But till now, what we have mostly focused on, I will come to that point, is the knowledge development. I think the evolutions of our the geospatial ecosystem, it's a time to think about the strengthening our skill component. The spatial the thinking, it develops uniquely in each of the individuals. It is also a complex and powerful challenging process, and it has to be in the context of life and livelihood. Why I'm saying so, because Rajesh ji was talking about that too, they expand that the geospatial usages across in the unusual areas. In order to understand that, we have to find it out that the most required areas, that how the geospatial the technology, data, information can strengthen the geospatial thinking in the life and livelihood. If you look into the education pyramids, there is a thing of the knowledge, the skill, and the awareness. Awareness and the knowledge over these 3 decades, we have done a lot. I think this is the time now to strengthen between the skill component. So if you now we look into this, the skill requirement in the which component of the our entire this geospatial the ecosystem development. In government has a lot of the flagship programs, and where geospatial data information is being utilized. So that gives a demand side of this the geospatial thing. The Indian geospatial market, as you know, it has grown over time, and also this India, as you see that there is a recent the geospatial Earth report, where it shows that how the geospatial is being now the economy. It contributes to the 5 trillion economy, like where what we are talking about, and also that how geospatial industry is now moving from the planning and decisions making to an efficiency and the precisions, the monitoring. The Gati Shakti is in one of the example for that, like where government is based on the geospatial, the data and information, is trying to bring the efficiency into the whole governance process. So in this context, like the skill development, starting from a basic primary skills to a high end, the technological skills are most important. So the other the important the conditions what it's provide is our national geospatial policy. These are the principles, like in a few principles which affect the skill development, the the geospatial, the recognitions of the potential of the geospatial sectors in the knowledge and the wealth creations, augmenting geospatial educations, like so this time that the geospatial policy has looked into the entire ecosystem aspects, standardization, certification of the courses and the skill sets, policies and guidelines aligned with the emerging technologies and the ground realities, level playing field for the government and the non-governmental sectors, and the guidelines recently, last year in 2021 February is a is an action towards that, ease of doing business, creations and incubations of the idea and startups, and promoting collaborations that Rajesh ji was talking about. So so ultimately the crux of it is that, if you see, is the geospatial capacity building. Like this is the 2013's the government of India, that the MHRD's report, which shows that the different across this pyramid, like where we need. And if you see that on 22% of the Indian the academics, they provided the PhD degree, and on the left hand side you see that how the geospatial capacity building at different levels are required. So so based on that, like quickly, if we you go through and look into the the national geospatial ecosystems, the strong and the weak linkage, you see that we have an huge the remote sensing program, the GIS educations in more than 200 the institutions. General awareness is there. There is a national programs of the GIS, like NRDMS, which is now NGP, and NRMS, which has also now changed its name, and NRIS. We have a technology, like which are basically gone from the POC or the proof of concept stage to the utilizations, as you have seen in the last sessions. Our colleagues have shown the solutions and the enterprise development, like we have worked towards that. But still there are certain weakness, like as you see here, the institutionalizations have not taken, like it has taken place in the state of Karnataka, what you have seen, but it has not taken place in all the states, like institutionalization of the usage of the geospatial data and informations. Geospatial thinking is not a part of the innovation, the system. As you see that the national GIS program, as the it was more of an application based. Now it has to go into more towards the solution based, and that the technologies, as you know, that the lack of the technologies in the and also like industries involvement in this the development of the technology needed is a huge requirement. The last year we gave a call for proposal of the geospatial technology. The mostly what we got around 230 the proposals. Only 5 to 6 are for the geospatial technology per se in India. Mostly people think of on the geospatial technologies in the applications. So we have to come out from that, like really, if we want to have the geospatial the knowledge and the skill development in the nations. The solutions, like we have to bring in the context of our the workflow processes of these national programs, as well as in the national the organizational systems and the enterprise. Like there are many the startups here, they need support, especially in terms of the knowledge. So for that, there is like the NRDMS program has developed into the national geospatial program, where we are working towards the geospatial science development, geospatial technology development, and the geospatial application to the solutions and the geospatial enterprise development in the country. For that, the capacity building, we have these 3 types of a training program, that 21 days summer winter schools, 21
one day, like the at L1 level, at the basic level, this was mainly for the academic, academia and some people from the government. And then, like specialized areas for the L2 level, like, there also these training programs are there. And we have started a Geo Innovation Challenge in order to, think that what are the new areas where the research can be, supported in order to develop the required knowledge and the skill. And that, like, the whole program has gone from very general way from before 2010, which we started in 2008-9, and now to the more, the specific and requirement for this total geospatial ecosystem development. So this are some of the, the outcomes you see that this is more important, that how people are now utilizing this, the training program out in developing their within their, the workflow processes, and like developing the knowledge ecosystem. But like still, I will say that the skill component where we need to work together. If you see in the new geospatial, the policy in the draft, it has told that there is an expert committee of skill council for geospatial sector has been constituted by the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurships. And this report has observed that these are the areas like where geospatial technology usage, like most of like I do not reiterate that, but there is a requirement of a separate skill council. They have, they're recognized in the geospatial sectors. But in the interim, like since they say that they're like, that much of demand is not there, internally there should be an, with the industry, there should be a national skill development agency a link, so that the national skill qualification within that national skill qualification framework, we can develop that the, the skill development approach. So there is a requirement of a strong industry linkage through active and the industry, the intrinsic industry partnerships. And this gives us now the, the required and the opportunity for, the academia, the the industry and the government partnerships. Like, for example, ESRI had started very good, the initiatives like what Rajesh ji was showcasing. But there, I think now what the government we are trying also, like whether it is from the DST or from the NRSA or from the Survey of India, there should be a link. And as Rajesh ji was talking about, that how in the unusual area can be done. You are doing a very good work in, the training the women, empowering at the village level. I would like to, like, work together as a part of the science, equity and empowerment divisions, like which I look after, that how really the spatial, the social spatial empowerment we can bring the geospatial as a backbone. I was talking with Agendra ji that, after COVID, from the DST, we have started a program of community COVID resilience resource centers, because the resilience was mostly thought about from the climate change or for the disaster management, but the overall that the community's resilience, and there a big role can be played by the geospatial. And that's the, the new areas like where we can find it out. And I would again request, like, ESRI, that like we can work together, and also to the AGI, to the other partners, that how that the resilience, and now for the COVID, after COVID, post-COVID, but in long term, the community always face that, and like they consist of the 80% of the populations. So we have, we can work together in, like really taking that the new area of the geospatial, the skill development. And I think with that, thank you very much. Any questions we'll take later on? If you have any questions, I will be available.